Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you already know who we are. But Been There, Got Out offers hope, guidance, and community to people suffering in or struggling to get out of a relationship with a narcissist or another toxic personality so that you can find the strength you need to get your sanity back. And I'm a little distracted because once again, it appears like the video might be a little bit blurry. So hopefully that's not too much of a problem. In any event, I'm flying solo again. I'm the male half of Been There, Got Out. Lisa's the female half. And 2 weeks ago, I was flying solo because Lisa was in court for gosh knows how many times. Probably it's got to be close to 80 times now, just trying to get the terms of her divorce agreement enforced by the court. She is back in court yet again today. So, I'll be answering some questions, questions from men, but certainly if you're female and you're here, so much of the world of recovery from narcissistic abuse and the issues that people in these situations deal with, and I think all three of the questions I'll talk about today have to do with kids. So co-parenting with a narcissistic ex. We face the same issues, whether male or female. It's just these questions happen to have come from men. So I was thinking about getting ready for this last night, and flying solo, I thought, I should have some kind of rock and roll intro or something like that, like AC/DC or something. But I imagine the conversation with Lisa afterwards would involve the word professionalism. So I decided not to do that. So let's get started, because these are some really rich questions with a lot of, subtlety and some depth to them. And I as I'll talk about, I think they're going to end up being, at least two of them will be blog posts in the near future. So let's dive right in. The first question, which is definitely one I can relate to, says, I pay tons of child support to my ex, yet our kids never have clothes that fit or are appropriate for them. I can't afford to buy them an entire wardrobe when that's what child support is intended for. So yeah, child support is, I guess the rules vary state to state, and of course your agreement, could say something different. But generally speaking, child support is for basic necessities, like housing and clothing, and it goes in one direction. No matter what percentage of the time you have the kids, it kind of flows from one divorced parent to the other parent. So like in my own situation, I always still I want to be a dad, right? So, and have that old role that I had before we split up. I want to buy them stuff. I want to take them for haircuts, whatever it is. But it doesn't quite work that way. So in most cases, it's up to the parent receiving child support to cover a lot of the basics. So, the gist of the question is, what if the other parent doesn't do that? And I've definitely been in that situation at times, with my kids not having anything that fits them properly. In particular, that's sort of a recurring theme with us, or just running out of like socks. The last weekend they were with me, they were just completely out of socks. And it's not that all the socks were at mom's, it's just all their socks wore out and mom hasn't gotten them new socks yet. So you're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because if you go out, if I were to go buy their socks, I'm essentially covering something I already paid for, right? So, my kids are a little bit older, they're teenagers now, and they understand the arrangement, and they know to tell their mother what they need. They know I've already paid to provide some things for them. Now it's totally different if I bring them to a Yankee game and they want to get a jersey or a t-shirt or something like that. That's totally different. But, the fact that my kids know what the deal is, it helps so much, because for me, it's not so much about the money, but about, as I mentioned, my role as a father and doing my job to provide for my kids. It's both internally and, how I imagine that they view me, And it took me a long time to get comfortable with that she was the one taking them for haircuts and buying their clothes and stuff like that, because I didn't want to just be a fun dad. I part of the role is the drudgery, and it took me a while to get used to not doing that stuff anymore. But so when the kids are too young to talk to about the arrangement, that's a little harder. So maybe, as with everything, when you've got this situation where the other parent isn't providing basic necessities for your kids, even though they should be, document the problem, right? In case it comes up later, if you end up back in court and this is going to be a point you try to make, you want to have all the documentation that you need. If the situation is extreme, like they're showing up in rags, or not having basic necessities met, take pictures, right? And don't let the situation slide with your ex either. Communicate the problem clearly and ask the other parent to address it, right? You don't want to be, if necessary, cite the applicable terms of your divorce agreement that indicate she's responsible, or, if it's the other way, he's responsible for buying their clothes. And as with any communications, you want to be, you want to be brief, clear, factual, and absolutely unemotional. And the last thing you want is for your ex to know that her negligence bothers you. That just invites her to use the kids to get to you, which she probably wants to do, and would certainly harm the kids in the process, right? You want to, even in cases of, where one parent is a narcissist, you want to keep the kids out of the middle to the best extent you can. So if you're able to craft your message well, it will probably make her fear that she'll be viewed as a poor mother if she doesn't address it, which would be a threat to her self-esteem, something she definitely doesn't want. And that's absolutely applicable in my situation. I think a lot of times, narcissistic mothers get, and this is going to be a theme for the other questions too, they get a lot of boost to their self-esteem by being viewed by the community, the family, even the kids, as a great parent. So if you point out without emotion, without being accusatory, just say, hey, I noticed the kids are short on socks. Please address this. Thanks. Brief, no emotion, nothing. And if you do that, she'll probably want to, to make sure that there's no risk that she's going to look bad. And then lastly, if you want to get your kids clothes anyway, but you're kind of sensitive to this double dipping of you already paid her and then you're going to go buy the clothes. One fun and very economical idea, and Lisa gets all the credit for teaching me about this, is to visit your local Goodwill, Salvation Army, church tag sales. Hopefully when COVID is finally under control, church tag sales will start again, or even, tag sales, individual tag sales, or thrift shops, places like that. And a lot of times you can find really nice clothes for extremely low prices. It's not like, if you have the impression that these places have, really junky clothes, you certainly find that too, but especially with kids, because, nice kids' clothes are super easy to find this way because kids outgrow stuff before they wear it out. They grow so fast, they wear something a few times and it's still in great shape and it ends up getting donated. So if your kids are little, this is a fabulous way to very inexpensively get them some great stuff. And I've definitely done that. Plus recycling this way is great for the environment, and it teaches your kids about the value of money and being thrifty, especially if you involve them in the process. So that's the PSA part of that response. But it's something I've really enjoyed over the past few years. So second question is, I've been divorced for a few years and sharing custody. Our kids are getting older and still their mother seems to treat them like babies. Why? Just awesome question. And we see this a lot. Matter of fact, Lisa posted on Instagram about this morning, and feedback we've gotten from various people, as well as those responses, are kind of baked into the answer here. So it's called infantilizing, and infantilizing children is a common behavior by narcissistic parents, and it can continue to adulthood. For example, Lisa and I know a man who I think is in his 40s who's totally in this situation, and he's kind of like a yo-yo at the end of a string that his mother is holding, and it's really bizarre to see. And just thinking about it as I'm answering, we've actually met a bunch of adults that are dealing with this kind of situation where I think especially male children of female narcissistic mothers. I have no stats on that. I'm just thinking of our anecdotal who we've run into. So in my situation, my ex continued to do some stuff that I kind of don't want to get into here. That treated one of our sons in a very, very babyish way, until she was told by somebody in a position of authority that she had to stop that behavior. And as I mentioned, Lisa posted this to Instagram today, and the feedback she got just in a few hours was tremendous. So I want to cite a couple of these, as I mentioned. So one person said, "My ex wanted to treat him like a child, like change his clothes and feed him. He now carries our almost 6-year-old everywhere. My neighbors commented about exchanges." And so I assume by exchanges, this means transitions, when the kids go from one parent's custody time to the other parent's time. And in my case, like, still when my ex picks up my kids, and they're 17 and 14 now, it's all like hugs and kisses, like they were coming back from a war. And they're teenagers, like I said, and this makes them visibly uncomfortable. I mean, teenage boys don't want a big, showy, like, "Oh, I missed you, come here, baby." It's just, it makes me uncomfortable too if I see it. So then another response that Lisa got on Instagram came from a dad who we've gotten to know pretty well recently, with a lot in common. And what he said was, and I'm just going to read this because it's just so spot on. He said, "This is really true and is a form of manipulation. It's a couple of things going on. One, the narcissist is really a child in an adult's body. So all they know how to do is interact like a brother or sister to your kids." Yeah. And then two, there is a power struggle they are trying to win with your kids from day one. They want to make them theirs, and this is part of their parental alienation strategy. They will share private marital information with your kids with their spin to keep you relationally from them, and by doing absolutely everything for them, treating them like children, they make your kids dependent on them and not you. When you bring real parenting to the table or encourage them to move towards independence, they'll make you out as the bad parent because you don't enable them. And these things ring so true with my own situation. I mean, I think of times that my kids, I really stepped in and, did some things to help my kids grow up, kind of, whatever it was from a parenting standpoint. A lot of times I get this, I get an email back, like, when she heard about it, and she'd say, like, "Well, I know you meant well. Here's why what you did was wrong," and just one of her diatribes. So, and then another person said, "Because treating them like babies gives the false impression that the kids will stay isolated from the truth." So narcissists, view children as extensions of themselves. The children exist to make them look good, to show what a great person they are to the community, family, etc. And another person on Instagram posted exactly that. This person said they treat the kids as an extension of themselves until the kids start to think as different human beings. Then the kids will figure out what are silent treatment, stonewalling, so on, and start to experience CPTSD symptoms too. And CPTSD is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is kind of outside the scope of this Q&A, but certainly it's something that a lot of people who've been through narcissistic abuse, including myself, have gone through and had to deal with. So narcissists, they need to feel needed. And who needs you more than a child, right? So as the child matures, if we're doing our job as parents, they need us less, or they need us in different ways. I mean, I'm going to be 55 next month, and I still need my mom. We're still very close, but it's different now. Your goal as a parent is to help your kids not need you anymore, to become independent, at least, in day-to-day life. But for a narcissist, independence is a threat. So another person said, literally won't even work on teaching life skills like cooking. They aren't allowed to use the stove or anything in the kitchen at their father's apartment. I have been teaching them to cook for years, and they are allowed to cook at my house. It's just sad. And another person said, my 9-year-old won't tie his shoes because his dad's mom and new supply tie them for him. They make him believe that is taking care of him, and I'm being lazy for making him tie his own shoes. So, with you, when you're out of a narcissist's life, somebody who you're a parent with, when you're gone and you've set up healthy boundaries and hopefully gotten close to no contact, the reliance on the kids as supply, it increases. They need to get their supply from somewhere. And it's worse than just treating them like babies. The real damage is done by the manipulation tactics they employ to make them feel like or act like babies. If they were able to manipulate and control you, I'm saying your narcissistic ex, if they're so skilled that they can manipulate and control you, an adult, just imagine how vulnerable your immature kids are. We know people with kids who do things like wet the bed, refuse to dress or bathe themselves, stuff like that, and it's incredibly harmful. So another person said, it's sad kids continuing to do it in order to get approval from the other parent. It's safer in the kid's eyes, and yet we know it's not healthy. It's toxic. It dumbs them down. It's disrespectful. It squashes their confidence. And it means a lot of hard work when they come home from visits to build them up again and get them out of baby talk mode. And this goes sort of hand in hand with another response we got, that when the kids came back from the other parent, in that case it was the dad. So like I said, it doesn't matter male or female. These issues apply both ways. The kids would talk like babies, and it was the impact of the other parent's treatment of them that would put them in that mode. So the narcissist, in these cases, the narcissistic parent is trying to keep them in an infantile state. So you've got to double down your efforts to teach them independence. As kids become young adults, the tactics change, but the campaign stays the same. And according to a great article on Psych Central, and after this video is posted, to Facebook, I'll go down to the comments, and there are a couple of articles I reference today, and I'll put the links to those articles there. But it's on Psych Central, and what it talks about is 3 common strategies that another narcissistic parent can, or a narcissistic parent can employ as kids become young adults and then adults. The first one is disapproval. And disapproval involves subtle and insidious looks or pointed questions that show they're disappointed in the choices your kids have made. They do this to condition kids to seek their approval before making any important decisions. And it has the devastating effect of making adult kids feel incapable of running their own lives. The second one is interference. And what this means is they'll tell kids, who they're allowed to date, for example. They'll even sabotage adult relationships. They'll insert themselves into the decision-making process for young adults and adult children. And the third one is excessive criticism. So they'll make hurtful comments designed to destroy kids' self-esteem, the same as they did to you, really to you, right? They'll criticize your kid's appearance or choice of friends, and they'll diminish their accomplishments. They're conditioning your kids to believe that she knows what's best for them. And I'm thinking of an example that I mentioned, I think it was 2 weeks ago. If not, I've talked about it recently, where we have this tradition of setting up, this elaborate Halloween, our front lawn with all these elaborate Halloween decorations. And it's amazing. And I love it when we're kind of near a main street, and when people drive by our house, when this is set up, we'll see them stop. They'll take out their phone and, take pictures. And it makes me feel good. And it's part of, it's something we've been doing for a long time. I think certainly since before my marriage ended 7 years ago. And it's something we love doing, and the kids help me set it up. And this year, my ex made a comment to them about how, a lot of people don't like that. They think it's gross or it's scary. And she commented about this one particular, decoration among all of it, and said what a neighbor called it. And it was really vile. And you could just, my kids were so drained by that, because here's something that we love and it's a tradition and we put everything into it, but it's these insidious little, it's so subtle, and it's so, even for an adult, that kind of thing would be hard to decipher and unwrap and say, that's a manipulative comment. And it's not true also. So anyway, what do you do? Right? And you can, like so many things about co-parenting with a narcissistic ex, it's really, really hard. But you can absolutely help your kids with this. It's a complex topic. It's beyond this Q&A. It could even be a workshop that Lisa and I do at some point. But it will definitely become a blog post. So, if you're not already subscribed to our blog, go to our blog page on BTGO, beenthere.gotout.com, and sign up, and you'll get an email when we publish that. And also, this is a great example of how you drive our content. We want to give you the best, most practical advice on the issues you're dealing with. So keep the questions coming. But the simplest advice I'd give on this is like I said before, do all you can to encourage your kids to become independent. Let them fail. Let them decide what makes them happy in their own lives. Respect their boundaries. Give them the space they need to grow up. So, Lisa, if she were here with me today, she would have us wrap up now, but I'm driving the bus this week, so we're going to do one more. So the third question this week was, our 16-year-old daughter is a highly competitive athlete. Why does her mother, my ex, push her so hard that it's suffocating her and making her miserable? This is another one I can relate to for sure. The answer as to why she does this is similar to, the theme this week, certainly the last question. They view kids as extensions of themselves, right? The narcissistic parent does. They get a boost to their self-esteem. Any accomplishment of kids is an accomplishment of their own. So they push and drive kids to succeed so they can view their pushing and driving as instrumental in their achievements. And they imagine their son or daughter, on a podium giving a victory speech and saying, I couldn't have done this without my mom. Come on up here, mom. And of course, this is terrible for kids, right? So yeah, we should absolutely support them. We should push them and encourage them in healthy ways. But their accomplishments should belong to them, not us. And so the person asking the question, your daughter is 16. So depending on your relationship with her and your specific situation, you can probably discuss some strategies she can use to cope when her mother is, you said suffocating her and making her miserable. And I got these from a site called cbtpsychology.com. And again, I'll put the link in the comments once this video posts to our Facebook page. So the first one, is make some room. When she doesn't get her way and takes it out on you, now this is you talking to your daughter, don't be passive. Let your mother know this is a way of dealing, let her know this is a way of dealing with her anger, and it's not constructive, right? So let your daughter know that this is a way of dealing with her anger. It's not constructive. Strategies to diffuse the situation can be challenging to come up with on your own on the spot, so it's best to think of them in advance. So going back to the article, be compassionate. Even if it seems like mom doesn't deserve it, recognize that she likely needs compassion, empathy. I'm not going to say pity. The article said pity. I wouldn't say that. But compassion and empathy from your daughter. She might have a hard way of showing it, but she does care about you. This isn't really true in terms of narcissistic parents caring about their children the way a healthy parent would care. But that's a lot. That's too much for a teenager to unpack at this point in life. That's what therapy in the 30s is going to be for. But having your daughter be compassionate is absolutely a good way of dealing with it. Also to accept and let it go. So if your daughter can try to accept that this is how mom is and nothing she does is going to change that, and it's not her fault, remember that her mother's words and actions come from just who she is, her personality, and they're not meant to upset her. She's doing the best she can. So acceptance is hugely helpful. Also to have some confidence. So it's important for your daughter to recognize her own self-worth. Her accomplishments are her own. She's the one who's working so hard. Emphasize that you know that, and you're so proud of her whether she's successful or not. And like so many things when you're co-parenting with a narcissist, you're not going to get the other parent to change, right? So if you do the very best you can and your game is spot on, as much as close to perfect as you can be, you can make up for that. Having one healthy parent gives them a great chance. And the last one is, to tell your daughter she can lean on others. Nothing can replace the validation a child receives from their mother. There may be other supportive figures that your daughter can lean on, besides you, like friends or, whatever sport she's playing. I'm assuming she has teammates, other family members that you're close to. But yeah, tough situation. So again, I'm going to post, I referenced a couple of different articles in this Q&A today. And I'll definitely get those posted, the links to them posted in the comment section once the video's up. But that's going to do it for today. Even without Lisa going back and forth in our chatty way, I still managed to talk for a half hour. So hopefully it was, packed with rich content, and not, I didn't go on too long. As I said earlier, we're easy to reach. Keep the questions coming. Lisa's very active on Instagram. You can post right here to our Facebook page. There's a contact us link right on BeenThereGotOut.com. The stuff that's important to you is what drives what we focus on. We want to be as helpful as possible to people in these tough situations. Lisa's going to be back next Thursday at noon for our weekly live Q&A. We've got a huge backlog of things to talk about. So we're excited for next week, and I can't wait to see how she made out today with her legal situation. So thanks very much for watching today, and have a great week. Take care.